Scientists have discovered a 7,000-year-old civilization in the Sahara whose DNA is turning our understanding of human evolution upside down. These people lived in the Sahara when it was still a green paradise thousands of years before the pyramids were built, but their genes do not match any human population living today.
Excuse me? Stay tuned until the end because this discovery is absolutely insane. A warm welcome, everyone.
The Sahara, now the largest arid desert in the world, is a sea of sand where survival is a daily struggle, but 7,000 years ago, the region was a green savanna with lakes, rivers, and a thriving civilization. Feel free to write in the comments if you've heard of the Green Sahara before, and if you want to be notified immediately about such discoveries, please subscribe to the channel. It's free, you'll never miss a video again, and you'll be helping me a lot.
And if you've already subscribed, giving the video a thumbs up really helps. 5,000 likes is the magic threshold for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much, everyone. So what did the scientists find? In the Takarkori Cave in southwestern Libya, right in the middle of today's Sahara, archaeologists discovered several mummies.
These are the naturally mummified bodies of two women who lived about 7,000 years ago. The crazy thing is that these mummies were not artificially mummified as in ancient Egypt, but were perfectly preserved by the dry desert heat. The two women date back to the so-called pastoral Neolithic era. Back then, when the Sahara was still green, these people lived in a world very different from what we can imagine today.
So far so exciting, but now it gets really interesting. A team led by Nada Salem from the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology analyzed the DNA of these mummies. And what they found blew everyone away. The DNA doesn't match any population group living today. So, genetically speaking, what were these mummies? Another species perhaps far ahead of us, the true builders of the pyramids? It's not quite that extreme, but still very, very fascinating.
DNA normally degrades extremely quickly in hot, dry climates. That is why we know so little about the genetic history of human development in the Sahara. But these two women were so perfectly preserved that researchers were able to extract enough DNA fragments. They analyzed millions of genetic markers from a tooth root and two fibula fragments. The DNA shows that these Takarkori people belong to a completely unknown North African lineage. This lineage separated from sub-Saharan African lineages about 60,000 years ago, around the same time that modern humans left Africa.
I still find it absolutely fascinating that this actually happened only 60,000 years ago. A lot has happened since then. 60,000 years ago, Homo sapiens left Africa to conquer the planet. Today, we launch rockets into space. So that's quite a steep learning curve. On the other hand, nowadays people also put pineapple on pizza. That's a step backwards for civilization.
Okay, boomer.
But anyway, the Takarkori people remained almost completely isolated back then.
While the rest of humanity spread across the planet, this group lived in complete isolation in North Africa for thousands of years. Nada Salem, the researcher responsible for the discovery, says both Takarkori individuals are closely related to ancestors first documented in 15,000-year-old hunter-gatherers from the Takarkori Caves in Morocco. Takarkori and Takarkori Caves are genetically equally distant from sub-Saharan lineages, and that is very surprising. As a reminder, during the Green Sahara period, between about 14,500 and 5,000 years ago, heavy monsoon rains transformed what is now the Sahara into a vast savanna landscape with lakes, rivers, and grasslands. Where today there is only sand, humans, wild animals, and large herds of cattle once lived. Rock paintings even show groups swimming and hunting. This humid climate made North Africa a habitable corridor that made migration, cattle breeding, and early cultures possible in the first place. And despite this green environment, there was hardly any genetic exchange between North Africa and the sub-Saharan region. The researchers expected a massive mixing of the population, but the Takarkori people and 15,000-year-old hunter-gatherers from the Takarkori Cave in Morocco are equally distant from sub-Saharan lines. This indicates very limited gene flow.
The researchers have a theory. The Sahara was indeed green but not uniform. There were different ecosystems, grasslands, wetlands, forests, lakes, mountains, savannas, and this diversity probably led to fragmented habitats.
Together with social and cultural barriers and the spatial structuring of the population, this restricted gene flow. It was a bit like different islands in a green sea. Ecological barriers combined with cultural differences prevented the mixing that one would actually expect. However, scientists were able to find a genetic influence. The Takarkori people have Neanderthal DNA. They have about 10 times less Neanderthal ancestry than farmers from the Levant, but significantly more than contemporary sub-Saharan genomes. This proves that this group was isolated but not completely cut off. Although the Takarkori apparently had less contact with Neanderthals than the Taforol, for example, they must have had more contact than other groups in the region. Incidentally, I also find the whole Neanderthal topic super exciting.
When you hear the question, will Homo sapiens ever make contact with other intelligent species? You intuitively think of first contact with aliens or something like that. But in fact, we have already had contact with other intelligent species that weren't modern humans, weren't Homo sapiens, for example, the Neanderthals. But that would be a topic for its own video. First, let's get back to the Takarkori people.
Apart from this small Neanderthal genetic influence, they lived primarily isolated from other populations, and despite this isolation and the lack of genetic exchange, there was cultural and technological influence. The Takarkori people were pastoral Neolithic herders, and there is evidence of livestock farming at the site dating back 8,300 years, one of the earliest examples ever found. However, DNA shows that this way of life did not originate with immigrant groups, but spread primarily through cultural exchange. Local hunters and gatherers adopted goat and cattle husbandry without significant genetic mixing, while preserving their distinct North African lineage. So we see that culture and genes do not always travel together. And what became of these people? The green Sahara dried up about 5,000 years ago. Increasing aridity forced people to migrate north to the Mediterranean or south to the Sahel. The genetic trace can still be found today among the Fulani herders. A group of Fulani from 8 Sahel countries shows an increased genetic affinity to the Takarkori. This means that the descendants of this mysterious North African population are still alive today. They have mixed with other groups, but their genetic trace is detectable. It's like finding an ancient river that has branched out into many small streams, but whose water can still be identified. The discovery is truly remarkable from a historical perspective and has implications for our understanding of human evolution, because it shows that even in favorable times, isolated populations can exist, and cultural exchange does not necessarily mean genetic mixing. For thousands of years, the Sahara played an important role in structuring African populations, not only as a barrier, but also as a fragmented habitat with many different ecological niches. And the craziest thing is that in geological terms, all this happened not so long ago, and yet the past and development of our own species is such a mystery to us today. I find it absolutely fascinating.
And who knows? Beneath the sands of the Sahara, preserved by the desert heat, there may still be more mummified secrets waiting to be discovered. I'll keep you updated on any further discoveries. So make sure to subscribe to the channel now, and don't forget to give a thumbs up so we can hit 5,000 likes. And if you want to learn more about spectacular discoveries beneath the Earth's surface, then I have something else for you.
In the heart of Europe, beneath the Eiffel Mountains, researchers have just made an exciting discovery. A magma reservoir has been discovered beneath Lake Lake. Could there be an eruption there? What would that mean? You can find out about this and much more about volcanic activity under Germany in my next video. Be sure to click on the top right. It's very, very exciting. Of course, you're also welcome to browse the space shop at the bottom left. Otherwise, I'd say see you in the next video. Take care, folks.